What is going on, everyone? Griffin here, coming at you with some Paladins gameplay. So we're going to take a look at the current state of Paladins, also the newest update that was introduced into the game, and just overall how it feels from my perspective in 2024. So let's head over and let's talk about it. All right, before we get started, I just want to preface this video by saying this is my thoughts and opinions on Paladins after coming back to the game for, since 4 years, like 3 years, somewhere in there. Like, I pretty much quit playing Paladins whenever Rogue Company came out. I was frustrated with the game, and that's the thing, a little bit of a backstory. I was frustrated with the game because the game seemed to be balanced around actual, like, popular characters as opposed to, like, needed balance in the game, right? Maeve was a very popular character. Maeve has been utterly abused since I started playing the game all the way up into including right now. She is absolutely an abused character that has a lot of things going for her and no realistic detrimental effects. And we'll get into that here in just a little bit. But them not really balancing the game around the idea of legitimate balance and balancing it around who the popular characters are in the game is something that kind of pulled me away from wanting to play Paladins. It sucks, and I hate the fact that they did that, but hey, it is what it is. So I do have a couple of points that I'm going to tackle here, and then I'm going to go a little bit more in-depth into those as we go through them. So first up, the main change that was noticed with me coming back into Paladins was the gigantic change to cauterize. So they made a pretty substantial change to cauterize many updates ago. It's been changed for a very long time. And do I think that I'm going to do anything to change the thing that they've done with cauterize? Absolutely not. I'm just going to give you my perspective coming back into the game after the last time I played it. Cauterize was something that actually existed into the game. So there was an update back in 2022, January 2022, where they removed cauterize out of the game and they put it in the game as just a base thing that all players have access to, whether you're a support, whether you're a flank, damage, tank, it doesn't matter. There's a version of cauterize in the game and it scales up the longer that you play the game. So I'm going to read what this says. Since its inception, cauterize has been used as a stopgap method to reduce healing in a game and genre in which healing is so important. Cauterize has been required for a match to feel normal. It becomes a necessary item to purchase and not a necessary item to balance itself, with other balance being done around it. We do not believe that cauterize in its current form, regardless of the value of anti-heal, is healthy in the game in the long term for Paladins. As such, we're changing how we approach cauterize and healing reduction in general. Our aim is to introduce a passive version of cauterize such that everyone has cauterize applied by their in-hand shots, scaling over the course of a match. This should help ensure supports continue to feel impactful while also facilitating a healthier power curve for healing over the course of a match. So this is a very substantial change. Whenever you play the game and having cauterize in the store and cauterize being that much of a staple within the game and kind of a necessity in order to play the game, it opens up things once they put it into the base of everybody. It does open up for some interesting play styles and some interesting item choices, right? But to me, it's very polarizing why they chose to go the route of just putting cauterize in as a base for everyone as opposed to just removing cauterize completely, adjusting damage values, adjusting healing values, and making significant changes on that front where cauterize just doesn't even exist. You're always healing the max amount, and then you have cards that allow you to either heal more or gain more healing or anything like that. As opposed to having those specifically in the item store, you could put those in players' loadouts and have them actually dump the money that they needed in those loadouts specifically into cards that allowed them to gain more healing from the support characters. To me, this change, a lot of people enjoy this change, a lot of people like this change, but for me, it just doesn't make a lot of sense because you have a lot of ways for teams to actually abuse this system and snowball 100%. Whenever you're looking at a team comp where it is 1 tank versus 4 support characters, the DPS that the support characters have rivals the damage and flank DPS, not to mention all of the CC that a lot of the support characters have and the healing on top of it. At such an early state in the match, they're going to be able to snowball that and use that to their maximum if they want to, because you're not going to have a lot of anti-heal. You're not going to have a lot of cauterize. So this makes it to where you can run something with 2, 3, even 4 support characters and a tank, or 2 tanks and 3 support characters. The damage output is going to be there and is absolutely going to exist. The healing is going to be there and it's absolutely going to exist. And there's going to be no drawbacks from a team comp like that. Now, some people will say, well, that provides new and more interesting builds, etc., etc., but it also creates a lot of problems synergistically in other ways for the game overall. You have to increase the damage that flanks are able to do because they are flank characters, and turning them, like, give them more HP cards, give them more ways to regain HP, and it turns the flank characters into these just cannons. They're not glass cannons at that point. They're just insane cannons. And we'll get into that in just a second. But overall, cauterize being baked in at that ground base level for everyone is a very interesting, it's a very Paladins idea. I will say that. I think it would have been a lot better for the game overall if they took some of the item shop things and baked it into the loadouts that people have to build. If you want anti-healing, then pick a card in your loadout that gives anti-healing. If you want increased healing from the healers, then pick a card that allows you to get increased healing from the healers. And you could open the cards up to, instead of being 5 cards maximum, to 6 cards maximum with a total of 20 points. And you could have had some more interesting and dynamic builds based off of that idea, as opposed to using the in-game item shop as a crutch to be able to try to fix all this, which it's severely failing, which is why I think that we've got the newest update that we did with the rework to the item shop overall. So I'll go into the item shop changes and the things that I do not like about it. So, for example, they split, back in the day, we had Haven, we had Blast Shields. Blast Shields was for like explosive, you know, AoE type damage. So your blaster characters, Drogos, Willow, characters like that. Whereas Haven was your hit scan characters, right? They baked all of that into one item, which was a huge W in my opinion. You're simplifying the game for new players. You're making an easier onboarding process for new players, and you just overall made the game feel better by making that change. Yet we're going to rework the item shop, and we're going to split Haven back into 2 different items, but we're going to change it to where armor plating reduces the damage from in-hand weapons, whereas arcane warding is what they're calling it, reduces the damage you take from abilities, right? So then that begs to question a lot of different things here. Does Leanne's abilities count as in-hand weapon shots, or do they count as arcane warding? There's no clear indication as to how that works overall. You have a lot of characters that have a lot of different abilities that they use their actual weapon in their hand to be able to cast those things. So does this apply here, or does it apply there? Is it a blanket statement where it's like anything other than your left click is going to be arcane warding, and armor plating is just going to be your left click? I don't think it's that simple, and that's where we're getting into this confusion area, and it makes that onboarding process for new players a little bit more difficult. Do I need to buy armor plating, or do I need to buy arcane warding? Does this count as a weapon shot, or does this count as an ability? This makes absolutely no sense, and it, to me, I see what they're trying to do. They're trying to spread the economy out more. So you still have 4 item slots. You can still only purchase 4 item slots. They're trying to broaden the economy out by adding a different item to each set of items, but you're making things more complicated by doing so. So that is one of the main changes. Then on to one of the bigger changes. They removed resilience out of the game, and they split it into 2 crowd control items. So you have Sentinel, where you gain a shield for 5 seconds on elimination, which to me makes no sense. Like, that's not that doesn't play into what resilience is, but it also reduces the effectiveness of slows, knockups, and knockbacks, by the percentage based on where you purchase it. Then you have Unbound, and that reduces the duration of crowd control effects by whatever, but does not include slows, knockups, and knockbacks. And this is their write-up. Resilience has been one of the strongest buys in Paladins for a long while now, and CC is both a frustrating effect to be under, and the roster has expanded to include more varieties of it. We want to still allow players to counter these moments, but also saw an opportunity to allow for a more nuance and counterplay based on team compositions. So you're basically splitting things that was not needed to be split because you remove cauterize from the game as a purchasable item. So then resilience becomes the primary pick for a lot of people, because why wouldn't it? Like, it was always cauterize and resilience. Those were the two things that 90% of people bought, unless you were a support and you bought Chronos, and then you could venture it further out from that point forward. So why are we splitting it into two? This is more of trying to manipulate the economy a little bit, right? So if you're playing against a team comp that has heavy CC, that is not slow, knockback, or knockups, and then you have one or two characters that has slows, knockups, and knockbacks, then you have to buy 2 resilience perks to try to deny as much as humanly possible. Not to mention, one of those gives you a shield whenever you get an elimination for 5 seconds, which is whatever it is. That is whatever. So why are we splitting one of the strongest perks in the game, one of the strongest items in the game that you created because you remove cauterize, into 2 separate things? To me, it just does not make sense. They could have easily rolled a lot of this stuff into the loadouts of the characters. If you want to take reduced CC, here is a card that reduces this type of CC, and here's a card that reduces this other type of CC. And if we're going to talk about crowd control measures, why are there 14 different types of crowd control? Realistically, there should only be 4 to 5 total amount of crowd control, period. It needs to be simplified. It needs to be codified into something that is a little bit more meaningful and a little bit more understanding from the players, especially new players that are coming into the game. These are the 2 changes out of all the item changes that we got that just honestly makes no sense to me. I understand splitting Haven into 2 different things, kind of the way that it was before, but not having a clarifying statement in there and actually explaining, like, this counts as this, whereas this counts as this, or them going out of their way to, like, actually explain what it means. So it says here, veteran players will remember Haven Blast Shields era. We want to reintroduce that level of counterplay while changing it to be a more consistent expectation. Any primary weapon, for example, the Tyra auto rifle, will be reduced by armor plating, while any ability damage, the nade launcher firebomb, is reduced by arcane warding. Okay, for Tyra that makes sense, right? Because I mean, the nade launcher, that's debatable, right? But for everything else, it makes sense. Whereas you have more complex and more complicated characters that uses their weapons to do that. Here's another idea. This is the $1 million idea that I have. Why do you have CC abilities cause damage, right? Like, let's take Bomb King, for example. If we use Grumpy Bomb and you throw Grumpy Bomb out there and Grumpy Bomb explodes, all of the people around it that aren't shielding themselves or trying to get away from it, they not only get stunned, but they take damage. Why did they not think about going in and removing the damage aspect that crowd control has? That way they could rework some of the talents to where, oh, you want a bomb, a bigger explosive bomb? We're going to change accelerant to do damage but does not do crowd control. Whereas the standard Grumpy Bomb is going to have the standard duration of, like, whenever you throw it out there, plus the crowd control measure, but it's not going to do any damage whatsoever. That to me seems like a better trade-off and a better understanding, as opposed to splitting resilience into a couple of different perks. Because if you're playing against a Bomb King that's using Grumpy Bomb as an actual bomb instead of something that is crowd control based, then you don't necessarily have to pick up resilience, right? Same thing with Ashe. Same thing with a lot of the characters in the game. Ashe has the ability to take reduced damage whenever you're using her run, her movement ability. right? Does it still need to apply a knockback or a knockup? No, it doesn't. And you could roll in the right click, knockback cannon thing. And I know a lot of people's like, well, that's the staple to the character. And it's like, it is, but we're making things more complicated for no specific reason for a lot of players by splitting these items into multiple items that you have to buy. Whereas you could just go in and have flat CC with no damage, or you have another weapon at your disposal. And that clears up a lot of the confusion and a lot of the issues that a lot of players could potentially have with something like this. Now, let's talk about the glass cannon problem in Paladins. So flanks, because cauterize is baked into the game itself, and because that there are a lot of sustain cards and there's a lot of items in the item shop that you can get that allow you to just basically snowball either damage reduction or healing, it's made glass cannons like flank characters go from glass cannons into something more. They're better damage characters. They're almost better support characters to themselves than they are from the support. And it's created this weird almost flank heavy meta. And if people really wanted to get in there and dedicate a lot of time to building the perfect team comp, you could absolutely get by with one tank, one support, and everybody else being flanks, because their ability to sustain themselves is unreal compared to the other classes in the game. And I know they're flanks. They're not going to be near a healer. But whenever you have healers like Saris that has really long healing range, you have Furia, you have a lot of other characters in the game that have long healing ranges. You have some that just mark their target and they just leave the mark on them, like Genos and like Corvus. The flanks have their cake and they're able to eat it too, because they're going to continue to get healing. They're going to continue to be able to get in, do tons and tons and tons of damage, buy items that is going to allow them to be able to regain a ton of HP whenever they're engaging with someone, and then have multiple movement abilities, right? When we look at a character like Maeve, she has 2 to 3 primary movement abilities just baked into her base kit. Not to mention the fact that there's like 0 fall off on her weapon shots. And whenever you start factoring in her talents into it, her abilities into it, then you're able to stack damage and snowball damage to that extent. The glass cannon problem absolutely exists, and is something that realistically deters me from really wanting to play the game. Like, why would I play a damage champion that has decent damage output and decent mobility when I can pick someone that has high mobility, high damage output, and very high sustain? Like, there is a huge problem with that overall. They need to take a look at what the flanks are able to do, the items in the store, since they want to rework the store all of a sudden, and the cards in their loadouts, and make a couple of micro changes to that so that flanks don't have all the sustain in the world whenever they are going up against, 2 to 3 people. When you play as a flank and you're able to easily kill 3 to 4 people on that team that you're going against without breaking a sweat, without being in danger whatsoever, then that's a problem, right? And some people could say it's a skill issue. Some people could say all this kind of stuff. But in reality, if someone sit down and really calculated everything out, flanks are better on paper and in game than the rest of the characters in the game. And that is a 1000% fact and reality. The Payload game mode is something that I never got to experience until recently, and overall for a game mode, it's fine. I would like to see a couple of changes made with the game mode to make it a little bit more fun and a little bit more interesting. Having everything taken away from you whenever you swap sides, it sucks, but it makes sense why they do that. Overall, I think that that's fine. At least having the ult taken away makes sense. You're resetting the game, you're attacking it from a different perspective. That makes sense. What doesn't feel good is whenever you are playing the game and the time runs out and your team is still around the payload during a team fight, and the game just ends. There's no overtime mechanic, there's no stalemate, there's nothing like that. It just ends, and then it's the enemy's turn to try to get it that far or farther in order to win the game. Like, that doesn't make sense. If we're successfully working as a team and we're able to like defend the payload and push it further, then why would we not get credit for that? That honestly doesn't make sense to me. And then having a map for something as large as Payload would be very nice to be able to see where the different routes are, to be able to see how different flanks could happen, and having clear indication of you can fly over this, or you can jump over this, or you can use an ability to get over this, whereas you can't do that here. Several times I found myself trying to use the map and the way that the map was laid out in order to get the drop on the enemy, but 9 times out of 10 you run into an invisible wall there. Why does that exist? If you're going to have characters with high mobility, why can't we use that high mobility to our advantage? Is that a balancing thing? And if so, see the previous point there with that. Dawnforge map is the worst Paladins map I have ever played in my entire life. I've played this map many times, and it is very, very poorly designed overall. And that seems to be a common trend with Hi-Rez introducing new maps into the game. They introduce something that is just absolutely unbearable to play on, and they make no specific changes to try to fix it. If you want to play Dawnforge map, then pick a bunch of flank characters and just go ham, because all that map is constantly getting shot in the back. It doesn't feel like that there's an actual line in the sand. It doesn't feel like that there is an actual point of contention on that map. It just feels like a giant cluster of nonsense where whenever you run in to try to secure the point, or whenever you try to flank the enemy, you're getting shot from 6 different directions, and it's just a giant feels bad. I wish that they would honestly take it out of the game. That's how much I dislike playing the map. I think that there is some value to it, but I think that it needs to be severely reworked, and having a mechanism in the game that like lowers and raises something and changes the playfield is a great idea, and I love that. But why does it do damage to you? That doesn't make any sense to me. It should just be something that protects you from the upper floor instead of giving you damage. And then if the enemy team wants to do damage from that upper floor, then they have to go and fight over the control of that actual mechanism that raises and lowers it. It's just weird. And they're trying to make it more vertical, but the problem with Paladins is like the verticality doesn't need to exist in the map because you have vertical characters that exist in the map. A game like Rogue Company needs verticality because everybody's hard locked on the ground. You have people that can run faster than other people, but you don't have characters that can fly on brooms or teleport across the map, whereas in Paladins you do. So you have your characters introducing that vertical variable into the game. You don't need to have complex maps introducing that vertical variable because you already have that under control. Matchmaking and AFK for Paladins overall has been very much the same as every other Hi-Rez game. It seems like if things aren't going the way that some of these players are playing, if it's not going to their expectations or the way that they want it to go, then they just simply sit and spawn until the match ends, or they complain about it the whole time, spam the VGS system, or they just simply disconnect. I've seen a lot of issues with players disconnecting or getting very upset and just not doing anything in the rest of the game. And that is a definite Evil Mojo Hi-Rez problem. These people need to be, without a shadow of a doubt, need to be punished for the way that they are acting and for the way that they are playing in game. It sucks when you play with people on your team that doesn't live up to what you think that their expectations should be. But should you take that out on the entire team by sitting in the back, especially whenever you play a support character or a tank character, should you sit in the back and just forfeit the match? And speaking of that, why isn't there a surrender option in the game? If we have a bot on our team or someone that is sitting in spawn the whole time, why do I want to play a 25 to 45 minute game where the enemy team realizes that someone is doing that, they snowball everyone, spawn trap us, and we're just stuck in this infinite loop of nonsense for so many minutes? That shouldn't happen, and we need a surrender button put into the game to actually get out of situations like that. But on to some more positive sides of the game. The game has looked better than it ever has, in my opinion. A lot of the maps that I've noticed got visual overhauls and visual reworks are absolutely incredible, and you can definitely see the age of Unreal Engine 3, but you can also see a lot of the positives that Unreal Engine 3 actually had whenever people were using it as their primary way to develop games. It looks amazing, and for the most part, it runs okay. Like, in comparison to other Hi-Rez games, it runs pretty good. But in comparison to like actual games, it runs okay. There's a lot of issues and a lot of bugs and weird inconsistency things that do happen in the game. But that is a combination of using a dated game engine, having a lot of complex characters with a lot of different movement abilities, and having less than good servers, to be kind. So there is a lot of issues and inconsistencies there, but overall, the game performs as well as it possibly could, at least considering all the variables, and everything looks absolutely incredible. And there was a huge push for some absolutely amazing skins that they actually put into the game, and a lot of cosmetics and things like that. But it looks like, based on their newest event pass, they're getting away from actually putting skins in the event pass for some reason and opting to just litter it full of chests for different things. And to me, that doesn't feel great, because like, why would I want to take a gamble on a spray or on an emote or anything like that when I could just buy a battle pass knowing exactly what I'm going to get right out of the gate? It doesn't make sense why they're doing that. But I guess from a monetary position, it makes sense. I guess if you flood players with enough bad stuff, then they'll eventually get something good that they actually want. Like, it's a weird system. It's a weird economy. It's weird. For the future of Paladins, what would I like to see? Now, I know that the cauterize thing is never going to change. I know that the item store changes are never going to change, because that is just the way that they think that the game should go, for better or for worse. But what would I like to see? I would like to see better balancing for a lot of the characters in the game. I think that there's a lot of characters that are able to snowball on enemy teams just out of their minds. Whenever you look at characters, legacy type characters that's been in the game forever and that are still arguably absolutely broken, like Cassie, Leanne, etc., and nothing has been done about them, you could definitely say that those are a little bit higher skilled characters. But does that higher skill take away the fun of actually playing the game when they're able to, I don't know, put cards in their loadout that allows you to roll 6 or 7 times in a row whenever you're using Cassie, and be able to proc that bonus damage every single time you roll? It doesn't feel good for anybody, and it's something that absolutely needs to be balanced overall. I would like to see them take a good hard look at, like, overall how the game is actually functioning fundamentally, and make a couple of improvements there. There's definitely some UI improvements that need to be made. A lot of times there's so much on your screen going on at specific times that it's hard to keep track of the actual enemies and the things that you're trying to do in the match. You have all these different abilities and all these different weapon shots that have all these different effects. You have all these different things popping up on your screen, whether it be bomb notifications, ability notifications, and things like that, that it is very overwhelming at times. I would like to see that a little bit more simplified, a little bit more streamlined, and made to feel a little bit better overall. And then, of course, Paladins 2. Would I like to see a Paladins 2? And the answer to that is absolutely. More so than Smite 2. Because I'm not a huge fan of Smite. I'm more of a fan of Paladins. So I would absolutely love to see them bring the Paladins 2 experience into the game. But if they are going to leave the game as it currently is, then I don't think that they need to do that. I think that Paladins is in this very, very interesting area to where they can actually bring something new and unique to the hero shooter table. They've got enough people over there thinking outside the box and making actual good things happen within the game, that they could take Overwatch out of the conversation completely. And I know a lot of people's probably hearing that and they're like, what are you talking about? But let's be fair. Blizzard, Activision, they have kind of screwed up the release, if you will, of Overwatch 2 in a huge way. And we've seen that with a lot of players migrating from something like Overwatch 2 into Paladins and other games like that. If they're going to basically be a more updated, visually updated version of what the game currently is, don't spend the time and resources to do that. But if you're actually going to go in and make meaningful changes to the game and streamline a lot of these things within the game, then by all means, absolutely, that should be done. I think that you could absolutely take the item store, for example, and this is just a loose example, but you could take the item store and you could absolutely make some crazy, actual good changes with the item store and bring it as something integral to the game overall. Right now, I feel like if you deleted the item store, I'm not losing anything, right? I'm losing CC reduction, which could easily be a card that is put into the loadouts. I think that the item store overall needs to be something that is more of a group shared feeling, kind of like the way that Veld Experts had the ability to purchase upgrades as a team and dump your economy into upgrades like that. They could absolutely take a lot of these concepts and a lot of these ideas, and they could put them into a Paladins 2 and make something actually unique and something actually fun and interesting for a lot of players to play. But that's currently where I sit at with it. Is it going to go back into rotation? Possibly. I've been having fun playing it until you play against characters that are absolutely broken, especially whenever you play against a team comp of just the cheesiest cheeseballs characters that you can ever imagine. Then it makes me want to uninstall the game and not ever play it again. Same as the way it was back in the day when I was playing it. Why would I want to subject myself to a terrible experience because the developers don't know what they're doing over there and they don't know how to balance things to the point where we might as well just end this game as quickly as possible and move on to the next game. I should always feel like I have the opportunity to get in there and have a fair, balanced experience, but 9 times out of 10, it doesn't feel that way, and this is one of the rare occasions that it doesn't feel that way because of the game itself and not the people actually playing the game. But be sure to let me know what you think in the comments down below. Also, be sure to check that description for links to Facebook, Discord, and Twitter. Those are the places to contact me. If you haven't already, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. If you've already subscribed to the channel, then consider hitting that join button to become a member of the 256 crew. Lastly, I will be streaming on Thursdays and Sundays, so please feel free to swing by there, hang out, play some games with us. And if you want more Paladins content, please let me know in the comments down below. I do enjoy playing the game. I do have a couple of videos, but I may or may not release them. Do we dive deep into Paladins or do we find something else to play? I'm going to let you guys be the deciding factor. I'll tell you what, if you guys get me 100 likes on this video, 100 likes on this video, then I'll start including Paladins content with my normal content. 100 likes is all I need. Now it's on to you guys. Have a good one, everyone.
God damn. God damn. Oh yeah, she's on my ass.
Oh.
There she is. Still fucking running around in that goddamn room. Every time, man.
Oh my god.
Ruckus is dead.
I'm gonna go through left and try to take care of some of these people.
Enemy killing spree.
Oh, she's one tap. There you go. The only reason she won that fight is because of that goddamn ult.
Somebody up top sniping.
Yeah.
I want to try to go after her.
I'm barely keeping you alive here. There she is.
Ruckus is dead.
Got her.
She's dead.
Who's dead? We're good.
Woo. How's it overtime?
I'm gonna move up a little bit.
There's nobody here. How's it overtime? top.
Sniper's in the back on the left. I got their sky before she can cause any trouble.
I'm getting out of that.
I finished him before the sniper got me. I finished him off.
Their Grover's dead. We're
I'm
going
trying
up
to kill
top.
Sniper, but-
Guy's going up top right. The other one's on, yeah, I see her. She's stunned.
I gotta move back.
He's dead. I'm dead. I'm dead.
Gotta move back. They can't hit me.
They're hurt. He just got the ult out.
Big push. Big push.
I'm gonna
Fuck
fucking
yeah.
jump up here. Okay. Good.
Why did they get rid of the staircases on the left and right hand side, depending on what side? Like, the only way to get on the defender side up top over there is to fucking jump on those stupid fucking boxes or go all the way back around. Like, what the fuck are we doing?